All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about some more of the new update related stuff. This time we're going to be talking about the prophecy. Reprise, change up, switcheroo, whatever you want to call it. Prophecy weapons either got removed and added new ones in their place, and the ones that stayed got their perk pools changed, along with some of them getting their affinity changed. For example, the Judgment went from kinetic to a stasis hand cannon. Fatebringer's still better though, you already know. Now from what I have heard and seen, the prophecy weapons mainly seem to be more of a PvP player's wet dream of really good weapons, rather than being focused on the PvE side of things. I have done quite some prophecy farming, got some pretty decent weapons. However, since most of these are PvP focused, I'm not going to be making separate videos talking about them like that because, let's be real, taking PvP advice from me, that's like taking quarterback advice from the Chicago Bears. Makes no sense. Now, we all know that the cube encounter can be a bit of a snooze, although that is one of the main encounters people are farming. That is one of the main encounters that I have farmed, that and the first encounter, of course, as the cube does offer at least something that piqued my interest. The SMG and the shotgun both drop from the cube, and the Adjudicator, I think that's how you pronounce it, roast me in the comments if it's not, is the first SMG, as far as I'm aware, to roll with Onslaught. So what did I do? I spent too many hours in the cube room farming for it. Eventually we got one with Onslaught, so I could go ahead and make the video and talk about it a little bit more. Before we get too far into it, I just remind you guys, if you ever want to get your games and the DLC for a cheap price, you always make sure you head over to Instant Gaming at the top link in the description, along with their free monthly game giveaway. Now, a negative to this weapon, at least off rip in my opinion, especially for PvE, is its frame. It's a precision frame. Ew. I'd much rather it be an aggressive frame, and of course ideally we would want it to be a 900 RPM, a lightweight or adaptive frame, but it's a precision frame, meaning it's got a 600 RPM, which is really slow for an SMG. Its reload speed can definitely leave a lot to be desired. I will be real with you, it's not the best in the reload department at all. 16 to be exact at base. That's tough to work with. I'm not gonna lie to you. Its reload speed is its biggest downfall. But let's look at its perk pool a little bit and see if there's some ways that we can go about avoiding it or getting around it, speeding it up. In the third column, you do have Feeding Frenzy. For PvE, that could definitely help out, especially if you're comboing it with some of the perks in column 4, which honestly, bro, there's a lot of good column 4 perks for this weapon, gonna be real. You also got Threat Detector to help speed up the reload if you got some enemies in close proximity, which with an SMG, that's generally going to be the case. And the other perk that people would definitely look at in the third column would be Subsistence. Now, I will let you guys know that the weapon that we're using in the background gameplay, the role for it, we do have Subsistence on the third column. This weapon only has a base mag of 27, so Subsistence really isn't going to be that noticeable. It's still going to be good, right? Subsistence is always pretty darn good on SMGs and auto rifles, but for this weapon in particular, because its reload speed is so bad, I feel like you're definitely going to be better off with either Threat Detector or Feeding Frenzy in this weapon's third column, at least in my personal opinion. From using one with Subsistence, definitely would rather have one with Threat Detector or Feeding Frenzy, probably leaning a little bit more towards Feeding Frenzy, but either of those two perks I would like more than Subsistence, but Subsistence could still suffice as a third option, at least for PvE. I know these weapons are mainly PvP focused, but this SMG does have some PvE roles that you could work with. So let's look at the weapon's fourth column. Like I said earlier, man, this weapon's fourth column's got a lot of good stuff, honestly. You're not going to use Fragile Focus in PvE, so we can throw that out the window. Everything else you can make a decent argument for. If you've watched the channel for a decent amount of time, you know that I am a big Frenzy enthusiast. I preach about how good Frenzy is, especially on primary weapons and special weapons. It's such a good perk. You get 15% increased damage, 100 handling, and 100 reload speed just for being in combat. You can proc it passively, and since this weapon has such a bad reload speed, maxing it out at 100 with Frenzy passively, yeah, that's gonna be very helpful. Just saying, Frenzy will be really good on this weapon. It also does have kinetic tremors. Keep in mind though that for SMGs, it does take 14 shots to activate kinetic tremors, which, if you do the math, that's over half of this weapon's magazine, and there's no overflow to save it. Do what you do with that information, but kinetic tremors is on this SMG as well. We got my personal favorite in the fourth column. We got Onslaught. I love Onslaught. Give me that increased fire rate all day, every day. You combined Onslaught with Feeding Frenzy in the third column, that's gonna be some juice. That's gonna be some juice. I remind you now that I'm using one in the background with Subsistence and Onslaught, and I would much rather have one with Feeding Frenzy Onslaught or Threat Detector Onslaught. Just saying. I just really like Onslaught. It's a fun perk. Not so good in the higher end content like GMs or content in which you're just de facto under leveled because you're not going to be getting as many kills to get Onslaught going. Just keep that in mind. That's where something like Frenzy or Kinetic Tremors would be better than Onslaught. It also does have Rampage. If you want to rock with Rampage. It does have Target Lock. Although, did Target Lock catch the PvP nerf on SMGs or did it affect PvE as well? I don't want to give you any false information on Target Lock, at least how it works now in PvE on SMGs, but I know it did get nerfed in PvP on SMGs, but it is here on this weapon as well. All the prophecy weapons all have a pretty darn good origin trait called crossing over. This weapon has increased range and handling for the top half of the mag, or rounds from the bottom half of the mag deal increased damage. Honestly, that's a really awesome origin trait, and all of the prophecy weapons have it. Now, like I said at the beginning, man, it does have some PvE roles that you can work with here. Feeding Frenzy Onslaught will be just a really fun role to rock with. Maybe Feeding Frenzy Kinetic Tremors, Threat Detector Onslaught, Subsistence Frenzy is always a go-to combo on SMGs. Honestly, if you get Frenzy in the fourth column, Frenzy just fixes this weapon's flaws. Like, it really does, man. I would have to say Frenzy is definitely the best fourth column perk for this weapon, and I love Onslaught, I really do, but man, dude, Frenzy is so good, provides you so much bonuses passively. So if you want a fun SMG role, definitely Feeding Frenzy, Threat Detector with Onslaught, and if you want a stronger in-game role for this SMG, I'll definitely go with something like Frenzy and pair it with anything else in the third column that you really like. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this SMG down below in the comments. At least for PvE, I know that these weapons in the new Prophecy reprise pool are mainly PvP focused, but we talk about PvE side of things over here on this channel. Remember, if you ever want to get your games with DLC for a cheaper price, hit up Instant Gaming, top link in the description. Thank you for watching the video. You guys be safe, take care, consider subscribing. We'll see your beautiful faces in the next one. Adios.